Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A recent retiree just sent this to me. Quote, if walking is good for your health, then the postman would be immortal. A whale swims all day, only eats fish, drinks water, and is still fat. A rabbit runs and hops and only lives 15 years. And a tortoise doesn't run and does nothing, yet it lives for 450 years. And you tell me to exercise? I don't think so. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning, morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith. And good morning, everybody, on a Tuesday, August 27th already. Holy smokes. And we say good morning to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 great locations, sponsoring the Zeb Bell Show, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, some of our great advertisers. Let's not forget Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and Western Way Services. Always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. And now the pretty, very eloquent voice of Gina Jameson with that chuckle.
Yes. Good morning, sir. How are you? Happy Tuesday.
Well, it is, I guess. I'm kind of depressed this morning.
Why?
Summer is passing us by. I went out and sat with the buzzbirds this morning, the chuparosas, and looked at the sky, felt the cool temperatures on my deck, and said, summer is on the wane.
It is, too, and it seems like this summer has flown by.
Where did it fly to?
I don't... Obviously to the Caribbean or something, Dan, and it didn't invite us.
Man, I can't believe it, because honestly, it still feels like it should be coming up on July.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And well, goodbye, summer. It was nice seeing you.
Yeah, and as we get older, things seem to go off the calendar at a much rapid rate.
Don't they? That is just so sad.
You don't know what it's like until you get to be my age, and then all of a sudden, what you thought you were on a hiking trail turns out to be a speeding train.
How true is that?
Do we have a pledger?
We have Rotten on for the pledge and Michael on for the win.
Oh, very good. Good morning, Rotten.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So well done, my friend. Thank you for calling in.
You bet.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time for our weather update with our dear friend MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly. They've got a big plant sale going on, 30% off on all the plant materials there at Rock Creek Growers. And you can check out all the fall grasses, and it's a huge, huge sale. You don't want to miss this. Get in there today at Rock Creek Growers on the furthest southeast corner of Kimberly, corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly, or give them a call at 423-6800. Rock Creek Growers, serving you. And right now, here is Michael Rogers Weather.
Morning, everybody. Summer's not over with. I can tell you that because I've been doing this for quite a while. It may feel like summer's over with. It may look like summer's over with. And today it may feel like summer's over with, but I'm here to tell you summer is not done. You got thunder showers today with a cool temperature of a high of 86. Now that would probably make you feel like summer is over with. Well, you're going to stay in the 80s until tomorrow, and then you're going to kick back into summer by Thursday and Friday with temperatures in the low 90s getting up into the mid-90s by Saturday. So, if you want summer to be over, it is your choice. I'm here to tell you, as a meteorologist for Zeb at the Ranch for over 5 years, it's not done. But enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Hey, Michael, real quick message. Call me right after the program on my cell phone, about 11:15 if you can. I got to talk to you real quick. It's very important.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, man, it's earth-shattering.
Should I call Al Sharpton, too, while I'm at it?
There's a lot of things we can call Al Sharpton.
I thought so. Have a great day.
All right, buddy. Thank you much. Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly, bringing you, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Don't forget, Airgas is going to have a customer appreciation celebration September 6th. That's coming up pretty quick from 11 to 3. They're going to have a barbecue and raffle prizes and live demos and everything. And they really help along with our firefighters for Coats for Kids Foundation. So stop over there to Airgas for that customer appreciation celebration, all right? And another news note here this morning that's very, very important before I get to another set of commercials. Cow Pies and Coffee Cups, my blog, has absolutely grown in leaps and bounds. And we're going to be turning out volume 100 in the next couple of weeks. And we're celebrating by giving away a huge prize to one of our lucky subscribers. Now, if you are not a subscriber right now to Cow Pies and Coffee Cups, make sure that you get on there by visiting my website, zebbell.com. Zebbell.com, and sign up for Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. So you may be eligible to win that grand prize. Now, I'm going to draw the winner live on the air in a couple of weeks, so be sure and go to zebbell.com and register on my Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. Do not forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, they can clean everything. And now yesterday, went down there, and thank God for my lovely wife, Deanne. She toted in a bag that had, I don't know, how many pieces of clothing, probably 90 shirts and Wranglers and everything that have been laying in that bag since, oh, man, probably back in July. And so they're going to take those rumply crumplies and make them look, and they will, brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They can do the same for you. Stop in and see them today. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget to SafeLink Internet. I love SafeLink Internet. I am not a computer user to the extent that like Deanne and others. Oh, but wait a minute. No contracts required, no credit checks, new high-speed wireless Internet packages available, professional installation. These guys are really good at SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. Call Shane today. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, did you notice that the Cassia County and city officials have grown up and have graduated from the 5th grade, and they now have a joint law enforcement again?
You know, I'm not going to say too much as far as negativity or being sarcastic now that they finally have the agreement and everything, but this is something that should have been taken care of a long time ago, and your point is well taken that they've grown up. There was no excuse to let this thing get as big in the weeds as it did.
You are absolutely right, and I commend them for doing it, and I hope that they, at the end of two more years, they already have a new one and have it in place, and so they don't have to go through all this crap. And that's all it is crap.
Well, it is, but you know, the people that really are stressed out the most are probably the people that live in the area, because with this mess of not knowing where their security was going to come from and who was going to handle their security, who was going to be law enforcement, the paying populace, the tax-paying populace, should not have to be subjected to that. And I hope that better heads and better thinking will prevail long before the contract is up.
I do too. One more thing. Today is election day for the school levy. I hope people get out and vote. They're tired of it. They're sick and tired of it. and we've already voted, and we're going home.
All right, well, I appreciate your voting, and whether you're for or against it, we're going to be talking about it at 9:06 this morning, as a matter of fact. Thank you for your call this morning.
Okay, see you, bye.
Thank you. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You can use any word you want. I've got a few choice ones that I'd like to use regarding this story because I think it's absolutely frivolous and stupid. But Army private, now the news media is even changing the guy's name, Bradley Manning, to Chelsea Manning. Yeah, because he, and he's still a he, whether you want to be politically correct or not, wants to be known as a woman, wants to be called Chelsea Manning, and wants the government, the Army, to pay for hormone treatments to enhance, well, there's little children in the audience. But anyhow, I find this to be so disgusting, and Manning is up for a 35-year prison sentence, and going to be sentenced to prison at Fort Leavenworth, which is an all-male prison. And the attorneys and this Chelsea Manning, Bradley Manning, creep, wants the government, which is us, to pay for these hormonal treatments. You know, this is so disgusting and so absolutely repulsive to me and others that this kind of hormone therapy to be demanded by anybody because they said, well, God made a mistake. I was supposed to be a girl, but they made me a male. This is so repulsive to me. These transgenders and these mixed up sexual perverts, and that's what they are, mixed up sexual perverts. Absolutely. I would give them nothing more than maybe a cruise, to a deserted island, and then the boat sinks. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. This creep there that knows he's going to Fort Leavenworth wants to become a woman because he'd rather go into a woman's prison because he knows what's going to happen to him when he goes into Fort Leavenworth.
You know, this is a story that just makes my skin crawl. These sick, perverted, sexual deviants, and that's what he is, whether it's a transgender, whether it's a homosexual, it doesn't make any difference. But, Tony, the bottom line is they expect you and I as government taxpayers to fund the bill. I don't want to take one doggone penny for this creep.
Well, the government's already informed him, or the military already did, that they don't do that sort of thing for their prisoners.
Yeah, but
I hope they stand by it.
I do too, but with his lawyers and everything else, the lawyer's name is Coombs, and he said in a paper report this morning that he hoped the military prison will simply do the right thing so that Manning does not have to sue in military or civilian court. Sue the military, sue us civilians, because this sexual pervert can't figure out who he is. This is disgusting to me.
Oh, it is. And there's one more issue I'd like to bring up. All this white hatred that's going on around right now, all these different organizations that are spewing white hatred, the Muslim terrorists that are in this country right now are fully aware of this, and boy, are they going to take advantage of this situation. Yeah. I'm afraid you're right. They are going to take advantage of this situation. And here's something else to go along with what you were talking about. Have you heard of the new television network that's starting up in this country called Al Jazeera TV? Yes, okay. I have. And we can thank Al Gore for this. Yeah, this absolutely is another perverted story, if you will. But I wonder how naive and basically dumb the American public is. This is nothing more than a sense of brainwashing, a sense of acceptance, a sense of infiltration of Islamic principles and Muslim traditions, etc., coming into their home on a daily basis. And I find this absolutely an advertising campaign to promote Islam and absolutely help with the jihad in future days. Well, how many terrorist programs will we have going on TV now with subliminal messages in it for our population?
No, I agree. I not so subliminal either. I mean, some of these are going to be very blatant, as you well know. And Tony, I was talking to a good friend of mine this morning. And hold on, other caller, I'll be right with you. I was talking to a good friend of mine in Pocatello this morning, and he's about ready to throw his hands up in the air because of the vile lifestyles, the filth, the political messes and corruption. We've got to fight back, and I'm going to do everything I can on this program, on the airwaves, to let people know how just absolutely stupid the United States of America is becoming.
Well, this is going to bring the rise of the Aryan nations, the Nazi Party, the white supremacists, and they're going to be in power in this country before long.
I'm so afraid you're right, and I'd like to say you're wrong, but right now I'm very concerned. My dear friend, God bless you. And by the way, you and Mary and Deanna and I need to get together and have a little taco someplace someday. So quickly call us after the air.
We'll be ready anytime you are.
All right, my friend. God bless. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And don't forget, we are making big plans for September 11th. We're going to have a big remote broadcast over there, and we're going to have some door prizes. We're going to have all kinds of goodies for you. Don't miss this in the Salute to Farmers, and then also Patriots Day. So this is a ripping big deal on September 11th at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. For over 57 years, they've been serving you with the best of all your electrical needs, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, Fox News have been the only friend that I think that the conservatives have, and sometimes they get a little way out there.
Now, wait a minute. Whoa, stop.
Miley Cyrus.
Wait a minute. Stop. Why do you say they get a little out there? I want to be more definitive as to what they did that you find to be, in your words, out there.
Well, this little deal about Miley Cyrus.
Oh, wait.
That provocative scene.
Okay.
That is just disgusting.
All right, but wait, Keith, let's be fair. Every single network, NBC, ABC, CBS, did not cover it with the vein that Fox did. Fox said it was despicable. Fox said it shouldn't have happened. Fox said it was an insult to her parents. I listened to the reports. I know what I'm talking about. And the other networks either didn't cover it or let it go as just being an act of entertainment. So really, who is out there?
I don't know, but every 5 minutes, they're showing it on Fox News. The repeat of it. There's children in the room. You know, it's disgusting.
Well, there were children at that concert too, Keith.
Yes, but this Miley Cyrus now is getting 300,000 tweets per minute.
Yeah, and all she is absolutely a miniature Madonna that is clinging to the coattails of an aged singer and star, Madonna, and going to try to take over her place as far as being very graphic and very suggestive in her concert and stage routine. I found it to be very repulsive for a 20-year-old girl, and I honestly would imagine that Billy Ray Cyrus is her dad, and he probably is very embarrassed about what his daughter did.
Well, yeah, but listen, Fox is saying they're downplaying and everything else, but yet they're showing it time.
No. Actually, I disagree with you. I think that by showing what they, and I saw it this morning at 4:30 in the morning, and they're showing it in an act of disgust. Every one of the commentators that made a comment about the Miley Cyrus concert was in an act of disgust against it, whereas the other networks either are not saying anything or they're going along in an approval. I think that somebody's got to stand up and say it's disgusting, and I think they did.
Well, that part I haven't heard.
Well, I heard it 3 times this morning.
I haven't heard him apologize for it. I've heard some of the commentators, like Lou Dobbs, say, this is disgusting. But But he shows it anyway, again and again and again.
Well, I guess the point is, though, Keith, how are you going to tell somebody on a television show how something is so disgusting? They didn't show everything, but they did show some what I would call poignant moments of that concert that were despicable for a 20-year-old girl to be up on concert. And I'm embarrassed for her parents. I really am. I feel sad for her parents.
And you know, Zev, how important advertisement money is. That's what keeps you on the air, right?
It better be.
Al Jazeera. They got commercials on Fox all the time.
Well, they've got commercials on all networks. There again, now, don't just pick on Fox, because they bought airtime on every network, CNN, everybody. And they're going after a big advertising campaign, and I will agree with you on one thing. If I were the head of the advertising department for Fox News, okay, just to use Fox again, I would not accept their money. I would not do any promotion of this network, because this network, Al Jazeera, scares me, and I think it's going to doom a lot of other networks because of the Islamic influence.
Well, that's the way that Bell would do it, and that's the way I would do it.
Yeah.
But money talks, and you know the other stuff that walks.
Yeah, I saw some of it the other day in downtown Burley, as a matter of fact. Anyway, you're right. You're right. I got to run.
Okay, we'll see you later.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Don't forget Valley White Home and Ranch. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got everything over there for you. And now that the kids are going back to school and mom and dad are home going, ooh, wow, where did the summer go? Well, now maybe dad can go fishing. They got a great fishing department over there. And they also are going to have something really special on Patriots Day on 9/11, and I'm going to be telling you more about that. They got Montana silversmiths, jewelry, and belt buckles, and they've got everything in, like I said, the hunting and fishing department and the camping department. You know they've got all your feed needs for your livestock and all your material for handling your livestock. They've got the nicest people over there, and the most knowledgeable people at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Remember the address. It's your store, Valley White Home and Ranch in Rupert. Holy smokes, I got behind here this morning. Real quick, I want to remind you, I better get into this real fast, and then I'll take some more calls. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Heyburn at Jim McCall's Farm. Hello, Jimmer! And the number to call, 438-8730. They got all your grease gun supplies, and they got your Lincoln cordless grease guns. There's a long story about me and history of grease guns. I don't think I better get into it right now, but I had a lot of fun one time with... Never mind. They got window wash for your trucks at Harvest, and they've got Bubba ropes. That's right, you'll never get stuck when you got a Bubba rope. You be sure and check it out. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Heyburn, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. Hey, it is time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling at 320 West Main in Burley, 678-2321. We'll be right back. Here it is.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Ranchers throughout the West who have suffered significant cattle loss and more than 280,000 acres of burned-out grazing land in the rugged western national forests are frustrated with the U.S. Forest Service and BLM, claiming the devastation they are experiencing could have been avoided or minimized. They lay the blame at the feet of those agencies and federal policies that allow huge fuel loads to accumulate and don't manage lands for sustainability. Ranchers tell the Capital Press that the government won't allow grazing and timber cuts, and so it burns. Several state livestock groups and a number of legislatures advocate turning federal forest and rangeland over to the state. They say states are better situated to manage the resources within their borders. This is Hannah Browse.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate that. Don't forget Pacific Steel and Recycling. Really, really good folks at 320 West Main in Burley. And by the way, if you need any help hauling your scrap metal away, call them at 678-2321. 678-2321. They've got trained employees that'll help you haul your scrap iron away for you. Just give them a call. These are wonderful people serving you for a long, long long time. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, 678-2321. Okay, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This next story makes no sense to me whatsoever. And somebody's got to call and explain this to me. How can you, with the Veterans Administration, be running such an absolute disaster? It's an absolute disaster. Our veterans are returning home from the Middle East, and they are not getting their benefits. They're struggling to try to get through to people. They're put on these mechanized phone lines, and they're sending letters, and they're having to call their congressman, and nothing is going on. They're not getting their benefits. They fought for this country. They fought for our flag. They fought for you and I. And they're not getting their benefits. And the backlog claims, this morning, this new statistics came out, the backlog claims, listen to this will knock you back on your heels, are up 155%. Oh! But let me tell you more about this story. The VA is paying their employees bonuses. What did I just say? The VA is paying their employees bonuses. They're taking money and paying these deadbeat, slovenly, lazy, not get the job done employees bonuses for not doing their job. And Pete Hegseth, for Concerned Veterans for America, that has been on my program, and he's been on Hannity's, and he's been on many of the talk shows, said it best this morning. How do you fire these deadbeats? How do you get rid of these deadbeats? How do you change it around so the VA thinks of the veterans first and not give bonuses to these absolute slovenly people that are not doing their job? Veterans are coming home, and they're having all kinds of turmoil in how to keep their home, pay their bills, keep their marriages and families together, not knowing where the next grocery bag is going to come from. And the VA backlog claims of up now to 155% backlog. They're not doing the job. They're not being efficient. They get bonuses. Now, would somebody call me and tell me why? Tell me why. And why somebody isn't absolutely going in there and cleaning house. Okay, Bobby, you didn't do your job. You're out of here. Go work for somebody else. Hey, you might try the city dog catcher. This is ridiculous that our soldiers and our men and women involved in the military should have to come home to one of the biggest debacles being run so inefficiently as the VA. How dare they? Backlog claims of up to 155%. And these dolts get bonuses. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb. I had a problem that way of getting into the Twin Falls Clinic. As far as phoning in, their phone system was stinking bad. I mean, all I could get was the answering system.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, they'd give me a prescription, and it was unreal what it cost. $2,900.
Oh, my goodness.
But anyway, finally I couldn't get back to him. And so I drove down there, and I was mad. And I walked through the door, and this one nurse that handles me, he's a male nurse, he knew what was happening. He knew I was mad when I walked in, and I told him, I said, this is unreal. I have to drive 50 miles to what a phone call would have taken care of it. And he said, well, Boise is the big problem. And before I left there, I had a direct line to him and also another nurse,
Mm-hmm.
and also a direct line to the system there.
Absolutely.
And you know, they could have that if the people sit there. I didn't know I could get a direct line to a nurse. And I've called there since and got right through.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about phone systems and these automated systems, etc. I've lost my patience with them, and it's funny this should all be coming up like this, Fred, because just last week, before I left for the Golden Spike Rodeo, I was involved in one of those same kind of situations to where I had to punch 1, punch 9, punch 7, wait for an answer, and then go back and do it again. And I finally found a number, and I told these people, look, I have paid you a lot of money over the last 5 years. If you're going to treat me like this, you have seen the last of my business. Get it right. Give me a direct number, or you'll never see another thing from me ever again. I'm fed up with these automated systems.
Yeah, well, it's unreal. And like you say, these guys put their life on the line. Treat them like human beings.
Amen. Amen.
They are.
Amen. Got another call waiting, Fred. God bless you, man. Appreciate your call, as always. Thank you.
You bet. Bye.
Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Last year I got a letter from the VA hospital in Boise, and they said from now on I will be charged $50 for doctor's visits. And I'm retired military. I'm supposed to have my medical free for life.
Yeah. What happened?
I called down there and they said, well, this they have to do because of expenses.
Yeah. So in other words, they're changing the agreement. You served your time for this country. You put your life on the line for our military, for our flag, and America, and you agreed to do it for an agreement from them. And now they come back years later and say, well, Mr. Clark, we're going to just set a new set of guidelines and rules, and you, of course, being just little menial, burly Idaho native, we're going to change the rules, and you can't do a thing about it.
Yeah, that's what they did, and it's the civil service at that hospital are really, I want to say, they're kind of nasty to people, you know.
Yeah.
We're here, and you come to us, and we'll do as we please.
You know, this is the attitude. This is Carl. Don't you think?
Bring that out.
Carl, just a minute. Don't you think that attitude of, hey, you take it or leave it, there, guy, because we're going to change the rules. You have nothing to say about it. We don't have to be nice to you. We're going to treat you in the fashion that we want to treat you, not the way that you expect. I am so sick of this government bureaucracy thinking that we are just nothing more than peons. We're nothing more than slave labor building the pyramids. I am fed up with that attitude.
I agree. They're kind of nasty when you talk to them, but I just don't go there anymore.
Well, nasty is what nasty should get back. Hey, listen, Carl, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And by the way, thank you for your service to this country too.
Oh, well, you're welcome, Zeb. And I did it for our country. I wasn't really thinking when I first went in about how I do love this country, but later on, it dawned on me what I was doing.
Absolutely.
And that's why I stayed.
All right, Carl. Thank you again.
See you Thursday.
Yes, sir. Lunch Bunch is Thursday. Thank you. Don't forget, of course, JB's. What a great way to welcome that in. JB's, 136 East 5th North in Burley. Of course, Lunch Bunch is this Thursday at 11:30. Everybody try to be there. And, of course, now the special, Deanne got me the special yesterday. It will be, and I'm trying to find the special that she gave me yesterday. It'll be a Philly hoagie with fries or tots, just $6.95. And if you've ever had one of those Philly hoagies, whoa, they're good. At JB's, 136 East 5th North in Burley. We're going to have door prizes thanks to Smith's Food King and also Walmart. So don't forget it. Lunch Bunch at JB's this Thursday at 11:30. Great food all the time. You know, this just drives me nuts, this other story I want to get into this morning. Today, the jury at Fort Hood's trial of Muslim killer Nidal Hasan will decide whether to give him life in prison or death. Life in prison or death. Now, if he gets life in prison, that means that you and I, yes, you and I, the taxpayers, are going to be afforded the luxury of paying millions of dollars for him to be kept in captivity. I'd rather spend the $4.90 bullet. I don't want this man to live. I don't want this man to breathe another breath of fresh air on this earth. Now, there are those that would say, well, Zeb, oh yeah, but if they lock him up for the rest of his life, that's going to be such a torturous rest of his life, and it's going to cause all kinds of mental anguish. No, I disagree. I want to see the man dead. I want to see the funeral. I want to see him in a pine box. The torture and torment that he caused, not only by killing 13, but the wounding of tens and tens and tens more. This absolutely is just not going to satisfy me by giving him life in prison. I want to see this man killed. This man does not deserve to live another day on God's great earth. What he did, and how many people he hurt, and the families that are just absolutely grieving for their loved ones that will never walk in the door at Thanksgiving or Christmas again. This man does not deserve to live. This Muslim killer absolutely should be put to death tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. I wouldn't give him one more day on earth. What are your thoughts? I'd like to know what you feel about this case. This man, as long as he's in prison, will somewhat get coverage in the news media, the bleeding heart liberal type thing. I say put an end to it right now. Right now. Your thoughts. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Muslim killer Nidal Hasan. It's time for a weather update. And we're going to have Michael Rogers with a weather update brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, 737-9900. Reese Woodmeyer is the manager at Sportsman's Warehouse, and they only carry the top quality products for serious outdoor enthusiasts. They are more than just a store. They're your outdoor adventure partner. Stop in and see everything. Everything is there at Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls. Here now, Michael Rogers with a weather update.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Guess what? Cooler weather and a chance of a thunderstorm. How about that for today? 86 for the high, 64 for the overnight low. Looking for scattered showers today. More of the same for tomorrow, but not that much rain, 87 for the high. Then we start to warm back up on Thursday and Friday with temperatures in the low 90s. So enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. The place to go. Let me tell you, the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors at Sportsman's Warehouse. What do you think about Nidal Hasan? Life in prison on our money, or a quick fix? Bang. Get rid of him. I am absolutely a proponent of the death penalty in this case. And for the suffering, the pain, and the absolute desolation that he's caused these families, I'd like to be the one to pull the trigger. This is absolutely ridiculous that it's taken 4 years. 4 years, and the hurt and the pain to those family members, the hurt and the pain to those people that were injured and shot and maimed to have to suffer through this. It should end tomorrow. Tomorrow. In 30 seconds. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. This is Ann Hollins, and I think that he should be stripped down, shaved, and put out to sea like they did Osama bin Laden?
I'd like to see him put out to sea on if they're going to give him life in any kind of a way, shape, or form, put out to sea on a rubber raft that absolutely has nothing on it, no water, no food, nothing, and the elements and nature itself will create a death sentence that he will have to abide by. I find this man one of the most atrocious, most demeaning people that's ever walked the face of the earth, and I'd like to see people absolutely get rid of him tomorrow.
You're right.
God bless you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, there are some, I'm sure there are some in the audience, bleeding heart liberals. Oh, how dare you take another human life or want to have another human life taken? How can you even think with that kind of a perverted attitude after this man gathered up all the guns and all the ammunition and the extra clips and stood out there and yelled, Allah, Allah Akbar, and killed innocent people? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yep. What they ought to do is wrap him in pigskin and put him in the ground.
Not a bad thought.
I mean, you know, Muslims, they don't have nothing to do with pork. I'd put everything I could. Pork feet, the whole thing in his coffin.
Al, you served in the military.
Yes, I did.
And let me just give you a supposition case here. Let's just suppose that happened on a base that you were at, okay, while you were in the service. What would have been the general attitude and feeling back in your day?
Back in my day, he would not have made it off where he was doing all the shooting.
You know, and I
shot down right on the spot.
I talked to another person this past weekend, and they had served in the military at or near the same time that you did, and they said exactly, almost word for word, what you said.
That's right. When we was put on guard duty, our weapons was loaded, and we had orders that anybody refuses to give the sign or anything at all like that, take them out, but with the butt behind the ear. And we put them out whenever we had a chance, because back in that time, they was infiltrating our bases, and we had to put a stop to it.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, we got a mamby-pamby little dictator there in the White House doing the first thing about one rifle from another, and it's getting ridiculous. It's like your VA, Zeb. I quit that VA on account of the crap they were doing, and it's a hell of a good deal I did, because I'm a lot better off now than I was then.
Yeah, but you know, Al, there's some people that can't quit because they're depending on those benefits. And to be backlogged 155% and have these dolts that run the VA give bonuses to the other dolts that are supposed to be settling these cases, these benefits, this is ridiculous.
That's another thing, too. When I was working some of the time for some of these government agencies, we was told we wasn't allowed to even talk union or anything else. That's what the biggest problem is they let the unions get in the government, and that's where all this crap is coming from.
Absolutely.
They can't tell me it's not.
I agree with you. Al, thank you so much. I appreciate
Have a good
it. Caller, I'll be right with you. Do not forget this week the Twin Falls County Fair and, of course, the Magic Valley Stampede PRCA Rodeo. It's going to be ripping good. They've got the Mighty Thomas Carnival. Oh, my goodness. They've got concerts, of course, with Craig Morgan. September 1st, that's coming up, and that's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Be sure and line your tickets up right now. They're on sale right now. And, of course, the Magic Valley Stampede, and they're going to have the All-Star Monster Truck Tour and all kinds of free entertainment. Whoa! Livestock, it's all there. Twin Falls County Fair and Magic Valley Stampede Rodeo, August 28th through September 2nd at the Filer Fairgrounds. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have the solution. Give him the death sentence, but do it for 33 days. And that's how many people he injured or killed. And each day, set him in against the wall in front of the firing squad. Have one bullet that just misses him every single day, and let that sucker suffer.
You know, and Helen, there are those in the audience, again, I'll say this, that are these bleeding heart liberals. Oh, that's terrible to talk like that about this human being. No, this is not a human being. This is a sick, perverted killer that absolutely wanted to do nothing more than kill and maim as many people as he could before he went down under the glory of his Islamic belief, and it's absolutely pathetic.
Well, I'd make sure before he died he had a meal every day, 3 meals of pork. Let him suffer.
I can just say this, that this individual is just dadgum lucky you're not running the prison.
The whole world's lucky I'm not at the wheel.
You've got me shaking, lady. You've got me shaking. Take care. God bless. I gave you another story that's got me a little worried this morning. And I heard your mic on.
Yeah, I just want to comment on, what we should do with Nidal Hassan, the Fort Hood guy.
Nidal Hasan.
Yeah, Nidal Hasan. And, of course, I think that this should apply to everybody who's on death row. And my boyfriend and I have been talking about this in depth. We need to harvest their organs.
Okay.
All right. To help those, it would be their way of giving back to the community or communities that they've taken from.
I can't argue that.
From the people that they've taken from. So if you are sentenced to death row, you are fed healthy, you are fed well, and then your organs are going to be harvested, and then you are going to go and help humanity.
But, and there's a caveat there, in this age of political correctness, my dear lady, that ain't going to happen.
No, it won't happen. I know that, and it's kind of a pipe dream in and of itself. But I think that, honestly, that's a good idea, and our leaders should seriously consider that.
I can't argue that, and I'll tell you something else, Gene, and I've said this before on my program, and you've been with me now for a long time. When you have irrefutable proof, you have irrefutable evidence. You have eyewitnesses. You have everybody lined up in the court that was maimed and crippled and shot by this individual, excluding the family members of the deceased, and there is no question that this man did it. No question. He even admitted it. It should have been like the Judge Roy Bean law west of the Pecos. Okay, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Tomorrow morning at 6 we hang you.
Yeah, amen. I'm so with that, and apparently my comment ired some people, so we've got 2 phone calls waiting for you.
Okay, quickly, caller number 1, you're on the air. Caller number 2, stand by. I'll be right with you. Don't go away.
Zeb, I believe that this ought to be televised on pay-per-view, and the money from pay-per-view be donated to the families of the deceased.
That's not a bad thought either. That's not a bad thought either. It might act as a deterrent to anybody committing any sort of a crime from any sort of part of America or their philosophy. That might act as a very good deterrent.
I think so also. But it would also, the main thing is it might help some of the families.
I agree with that. Carl, I got another one waiting. Thank you. Anything that will aid and assist the families, I'm in total agreement with. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb.
Yes, Kilt Man.
Hey, I'm totally disgusted with the whole situation. Obama and his crew would have stayed out of it, left it to the military, got it done and over with. And the other thing is, capital punishment should be capital punishment. These guys shouldn't be hanging around for years and years and years and years and years on our dime, doing nothing but getting fed and wandering around the yard.
Well, let me ask you this, Kilman, and you make an excellent point right there. Stop for a second. How is it that the court system will allow appeals to go on for years and years when, A, the person that has been investigated and imprisoned for the crime has admitted the crime, there are eyewitnesses to the crime, there are absolutely no holes in the case to implement or possibly put someone else in as the perpetrator, this guy is as guilty as sin. Why do they get the appeals? Why did they get the court cases? Why did they get, like you said, the elongation of the trial and then it extends into appeals in prison? Shoot the guy!
Agreed. I mean, it costs us approximately $60,000 a year per person that's in there on death row right now. Yeah. That's not including their court costs. That's just to feed them and house them. Okay? Like I said, I think these guys, when they are found guilty, lose their rights, period.
That's right.
They have no rights. If they want any rights, they have to earn it. They have to get out there, maybe clean up the side of the highway, break rocks, whatever they got to do, but they need to earn the right to do all the other stuff. They shouldn't just be able to sit on their butt on our dime and do nothing, waiting for them to get out of jail They need to be either shot within a year, or they need to be put to work.
Amen. I just absolutely agree with this, and beyond any reasonable doubt whatsoever, any possible little skosh of evidence that would say that they're innocent. I mean, everybody saw this man. He admitted in court he did it because of his beliefs. And to let him go in a life imprisonment and then also let him languish with what's going to be handed to him and afforded to him because our political correct society, no! $3.70 bullet is going to stop that.
That's exactly right. You know, the thing is, there's no gray area. You know, there's no gray area. There's, in this lifetime of videos and cameras and everything else all around us, there's so many of these things that are being caught on video of this happening. Why does it take long to get the thing done?
Amen. I got to do a commercial, buddy. Thank you so much. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the best. And that's not bragging. That's a fact. They are the best. 7 great locations serving you with all the best in tires. The best in tires. And they know all about the tires for your kind of driving, whether it's your pickup, your SUV, your car, camp trailer, horse trailer, whatever. They have the best. And also the best in brake service. Professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience, premium quality parts. They really know. They know. And they can help make sure that your driving is safe. Stop in and see them today. Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Pauline and Twin Falls, my old buddy Randy, the Seahawk fan on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Holy cow, got to run. Next hour, we're going to be talking to Debbie Critchfield about the levy vote today, and then also Sue McKeon. Very devastating story coming out that the Iranian court has rejected the appeal to let Pastor Abedini go. I am disgusted with our government, and I'm primarily very disgusted with Obama and his lack of response. We'll be back in 6. For some reason, the music that Gina plays going back into the second hour kind of reminds me of our hummingbirds, or our buzzbirds, as I call them. Zoom! And away they go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And along with some of our great advertisers, like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, by the way, Western Waste Services knows a lot of people are going to do something on Labor Day weekend. Well, if you're going to have a little party, if you're going to have a company get-together, family reunion, whatever, you forgot to get the porta potties ordered. Well, call them at 734-6969, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. They got the rentals of restrooms with the standalone hand wash stations. Yes, hurry, get it done today. Call them at 734-6969. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. Okay, now, also, real quick, before we get our guest on the air this morning, I want to remind you, Joel Hewart, what a nice person. I mean, I've never seen him without a smile on his face. He's the owner-manager of Hanson Mortuary, and they always provide the best possible support and comfort at a very, very critical time when there's the passing of a loved one. Always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please contact them today at 436-5636. We all should get the information on pre-planning families, or funerals, I should say, to help eliminate a lot of the stress and worry for our families. Please call them today. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. With me on the telephone right now is a very, very nice lady, Debbie Critchfield, and today is the big vote. As a matter of fact, they started voting at 8 o'clock this morning, right, Debbie?
Absolutely, and we're hoping that we get a great voter turnout today.
Well, we're talking about the levy for, now correct me if I make any mistakes on this, I believe it's a 10-year, $13.85 million renewal of the plant facility levy. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Now, one thing I noticed, and I picked this out of the newspaper either today or yesterday, I can't remember, is that you had a district community meeting at Burley just the other day. Are you kidding me that fewer than a dozen people showed enough to care to show up?
Yes. There were, of patrons that were not affiliated with the school district, that is correct. The community meetings in Burley and Declo were not well attended, and however, when we went out to Malta and Oakley, we had a great crowd and lots of participation, and that's a great opportunity to discuss and learn and hear from people.
Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the levy is going to require 55% of voter approval to pass. You want to talk about that for just a second?
Yes, and I'll make that percentage is correct, and I guess the only addition that I would make to that statement is 55% of the people that vote.
Yes.
And so we want, one way or the other, you'd sure like the majority of the people to make the decision rather than just a minority. Get out there and vote, and then it speaks well towards participation and caring about what's going on in the county.
They're caring about what's going on in the county. I really like that statement. Why don't you take a few moments right now, Debbie, and you were on my program with some other nice ladies a couple of weeks ago, and just kind of break it down as to what it's for and what it'll do and what's expected of this levy.
Well, I guess I'll start a little bit at the beginning and try to be as concise as I can. As you pointed out, this is a renewal, and the current plant facility levy that's been in place is about to expire, as well as, and I almost hate to throw this in so I don't want to confuse people, but I think it's important to mention that the construction bond from nearly 20 years ago is also about paid off. That'll be paid off in 2016. This current plant facilities levy cannot be used for the construction of new facilities. It is used for maintenance issues, repairs. It can be used for technology, things like repairing leaky roofs and concrete issues. Another area that we've really designated a chunk is for safety and security. Sure, everyone knows the headlines these days, and certainly that's an important issue, and money will be put into that area too. So those are kind of the highlights of the things that it will cover. There's been a list of proposals, projects that the district would like to see accomplished by these over the next 10 years. And as people look at those, we hope that they see that they are real needs. We want kids not only to be safe, but we want them to have the right technology and teachers as well as they go into their buildings each day.
Right. Now, Debbie, tell me again if I'm wrong on this, but this levy is not for any flashy Cadillacs or great big BMWs. This is kind of for just keeping the Volkswagen on the highway, isn't it?
That's a great analogy, absolutely. Again, leaky roofs, tile that's come up, carpet, potholes in parking lots, the same kind of wear and tear that anyone has at their business or in their home, schools have. And you think of how well trafficked these schools are, whether with cars or just people coming in and out, and it's just wear and tear over time. You got to make repairs, and when you've got 59 buildings in the district, it's not an inexpensive task.
Now, nobody wants to talk negative, especially on voting day, but I want you to be very honest and poignant. What happens if this levy fails today? I mean, what's going to happen to the schools? What's going to happen to the students? What's going to happen to the reparation of these things that have to be done? Will there be school closures? I mean, what's the negativity if it doesn't pass?
That seems to be a general theme around the county. As we've gone to the meetings and visited with other folks, that's absolutely one of the questions that are asked. Not being a trustee, I can't pinpoint exactly what the decision making will be as far as where they will cut, but there will have to be cuts. Transportation costs are huge. How that will reflect upon the average patron if we have to make cuts in transportation, or other areas of technology. We sure hate to see our county go backwards. We've been able to come so far in some of these online delivery systems. We hate to go backwards.
Okay.
I think anything and everything would be on the table at that point. I know that the patrons of our community would feel it. And there's nothing wrong with tightening the belt. And we've heard that and we've said that. And I know that the trustees, they don't look at it like, oh, we just need all the money in the world so we can continue the status quo. These are things that have to be done.
Okay. Now, we have a caller with a question. Debbie, go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, I'm interested if in the new budget or if in the new years to come that they have money in there to repair the air conditioning system at the King Fine Arts Center that we all so love and use and is in ill repair.
All right. Let Debbie answer that over the air, caller, if you would, please. Debbie, go ahead, please.
When the proposal for the various projects around the district were made with this current levy attempt, the air conditioning system at the King Fine Arts Center had not failed at that point. So it is not listed as a line item in the proposal if people have, got online to check those things out. However, the district is aware, the administration is fully aware that over the course of 10 years, things are going to happen that they haven't planned for. And so each year of the levy, there will be a little bit of money that will be set aside. And again, it's priorities. If there's a bigger priority in one area, that money will be shifted a different direction as things come up. So there isn't extra money that can be had, or the set amount is what the district would have to work out, and they like I say, they make priorities and decisions based on need.
And one thing I'd like to point out that I remember from your conversation on my program a couple of weeks ago is that basically each school within the district had a wish list of things that needed to be repaired, things that needed to be fixed, things that needed to be redone, and that has been trimmed to the bare bones for this election on this levy. Is that correct?
That is, and thank you for bringing that up. An important part of, I think, this discussion is that back when that list was trimmed, and it's nearly $11 million, a little over $10 million was trimmed off from the March election, those projects actually are still needs. And those are things that are just put way back on the burner, and we hope that at some point over the course of 10 years that maybe something that wasn't as costly as another project, that money can be put towards this long list of projects that still need to be accomplished.
All right, now, Debbie, I've had a couple of calls already this morning, and some of the callers said, okay, where do I go vote? And I'd like you to amplify exactly where they go and what time the polls are open. 8
to 8, wherever they've gone to vote for, like, President of the United States or the mayor. When the state took over the elections, school elections, they consolidated all of the elections. This is not on the school's dime. The school doesn't determine when the elections are held for any of the school votes. The state has told us, along with other groups around the state, that there are 4 times that you can run an election. And so as far as the election process, that is completely run by the county, like I say, under the regulation of the state. But wherever they normally vote, in their elections, that's where they need to go.
Okay. Now, is there anything else in the time remaining that you'd like to bring out for the people today? Because today is the day. It's voting day. It started at 8 this morning. The polls are open now. Anything else you want to bring out?
Visiting yesterday with our county election officials, the tallies coming in for absentee and mail-in votes, which I understand now is an indicator of what kind of overall voter turnout will be, have been very low, lower than really what they thought it would be. And so, again, I know I mentioned this before, but we sure encourage people to go out and make a vote or cast their vote and have the majority of the patrons of Cassia County make the decision instead of the minority. And I think that applies across the board. I don't care what election you're voting for or how you feel. It's important to decide for yourself and go take that great opportunity that we have as citizens.
Oh, I could not agree more, and you said it very succinctly. I just get so frustrated on this country, on this program. I mean, with voters in this country looking at percentages of under like 23 and 24% of the voters going to the polls, when all of these things in this great country of the home of the brave and the land of the free, we're just abusing some of the privileges we have over so many others.
I agree.
Debbie, I want to say thank you for coming on the program this morning. And today, of course, is the vote day for the levy, the plant facility levy. And Debbie Critchfield, thanks for being on the show.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I've got another little story I'm going to throw in here that if you're a gun owner, I'm a gun owner, and I'm sure many of you are gun owners, you're going to absolutely just want to tear your hair out in frustration in just a minute. Idaho Lending Group, 1182 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Telephone number to call, 734-5626. Yes, sirree, Bobby. They do a good job. NMLS number 181777. Equal opportunity lender. And don't forget, they helped me. That's how we became affiliated with these folks. We wanted to refi on our mortgage, and boy, did they save me some money. The money. Holy cow. And as a borrower, take the time to fully understand all of your loan options that can save you significant amounts of money over the lifetime of your loan. Very caring, very courteous, and knowledgeable Idaho Lending Group. Twin Falls, 734-5626. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear that two Democrats have introduced a bill that they are really pushing, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Obama's going to get behind it. They've introduced a bill that would literally skyrocket in price all guns and all ammo. As a matter of fact, the tax increases on a per-purchase sale or buying of a gun or buying of more ammunition would increase the taxes from 11% to 50% more. 50% more. And the Dems say it is a safety bill to protect Americans. Now, all this is, honestly, I know the sharp people in my audience are going, wait a minute. All this is a kind of gun control. That's exactly what it is. It's gun and ammunition control to the point where they're pricing it out of your pocketbook. You can't afford to protect yourself. You can't afford to have a gun in the home. You can't afford to go out and have target practice. You can't afford to become very adept at shooting a weapon and being able to protect your family and your children. You can't afford it. That's what they want. They're trying to put guns and ammunition out of your pocketbook. And this bill, there's every indication that it might sail through with Obama's help. What are your thoughts on that? To keep increasing up to 50% more on guns and ammunition. I have maintained on this program for a long time, buy. Anytime you get a chance or extra coins to go buy a gun or ammunition, go get it. Go get it. If for no other reason than to just rub salt in the eye of the government. Go get it. And now these two Dems want to see the taxes go up on this and the prices skyrocket at least 50%. They're going to get us. They're going to get us if we don't fight back. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Great big Labor Day sale. It's a celebration. And it's going to be this Friday, Saturday, and next Monday at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Holy cow, 15 months, same as cash. And check out all the sectionals, your choice, just $14.99. And check out all the carpeting and the flooring and all the bedroom sets. Oh, they've got queen sets starting at just $199. Oh, my. And they got bunk beds and area rugs. They've got all kinds of goodies there. Great big Labor Day sale. Friday, Saturday, and Monday at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244-1866-927-4587. I just about knocked the microphone over here this morning. Had an email from, and I'll not say the last name without her permission, but Ann gave me an email. It came in just about 25, 30 minutes ago. And it says, I want to start petitions to plant the extra wolf pairs that we have now in Idaho to roam the eastern federal lands. I would like to share our gift with the rest for their pleasure. We need to send a pair to Central Park so Mayor Bloomberg can go pet them. The instructions must say that they must be set free to roam and breed so that they are free in Central Park. I love that. Thank you. This deal with the wolves, and yesterday we had Senator Jeff Sidaway on our program, and the horrendous, what was it, close to 175, 180 sheep being killed by wolves, run over a cliff, and the huge pile of dead sheep, and they only had eaten one, but caused all this mayhem, and this isn't the first time. They'd killed guard dogs, they've killed horses, and yet we are supposed to sit back and say, oh, gee, golly, oh, we can't do a thing about it. The environmentalists are laughing at us. I've maintained for a long time, shoot, shovel, shut up, don't say a word. Nobody's the wiser. These killer carnivore predators are absolutely killing machines. For the sake and only the sake of killing. Not necessarily for food in any way, shape, or form, but killing. That's all they want. And these people like Jeff Sidaway that have their life's work put into having a sheep business to supply food and fiber to the rest of America and, for that matter, the world. And he said yesterday losing up to $50,000 a year the last couple of years because of these killer carnivore predators. Why? Why? Give me a call, 436-2244-1866-927-4587. Let's ride Highway 24. And by the way, there was a letter. I've got to get this in here real quick. There was a letter to the Times News yesterday by a real dim bulb by the name of Judy Jarrett from Springfield, Oregon. If you didn't get a chance to read that letter, try to get a copy of yesterday's Times News. This girl is absolutely not going to raise her hand to go to the head of the class. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got a great selection of all the ATVs, and the 2014 models are showing up daily, and they've got the Can-Am Maverick Max 4-seater, and, oh, man, the list goes on and on. What a showroom. It's just chock full of all the fun that you can have. Stop over and see Nick and the crew today. Nice people at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Stop in and see them today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, how's my favorite rodeo announcer this morning?
I'm fantabulous. What can I do for you, my friend?
You're talking about the wolves and the people throwing a fit about us killing them, and you're not supposed to shoot them, this, that, and the other. Well, and not trying to be facetious, but I did find a way around it, and that's we don't really have a wolf problem as much as we have an overgrown dog problem, feral dogs that's just destroying things that need to be destroyed and taken care of. Kind of like the feral pigs that are down in Texas and down that way.
Yeah.
If they're dogs, you get a dog into your sheep, you can shoot the dog to protect your livestock or your cattle or whatever. And these oversized pains in the hind end are tearing things up and causing people their livelihood. And I think you just, like you say, shoot, shovel, shut up, and it was an oversized problem that got solved.
I'm holding the picture in my hand of this pile of dead carcasses of sheep that were, just prior to this happening, they were productive, they were aiding and abetting a successful sheep operation, the Sidaway sheep operation, they were helping pay taxes, they were helping the community, and now they're dead, thanks to a worthless predator, the wolves. Now you tell me where the tax money is going to come from to support or replenish what these sheep could have done, not only to feed people and clothe people, but also with the sale of these animals and their fiber, where that money is going to come from to go back into the community.
It won't. And that's sad, but it won't. I think that, in my opinion, it's time to, instead of letting the Sierra Club and the tree-hugging people go after and sue everybody under the sun for the ranchers for putting their cattle out or the sheepmen for putting their sheep out. I think it's time we start suing them for loss of our livelihood.
I couldn't agree more.
Their stupidity. And if they want to go ahead and start a petition to sue the Sierra Club or whatnot, I'm willing to sign it. I don't have any cattle or anything out on public lands, but you know what? My grandparents did. And my family on the one side still does, and so on my wife's family does. And it reaches far-reaching. It's just not the immediate people.
All right, Ronnie, I appreciate your comments as always. God bless. Have a great day, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Caller, good morning. Quickly, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I'm just, it's all about Agenda 21, United Nations. It's just to kick people off the land one way or another, and that's the reason they brought the wolves, grizzly bear, and all this other nonsense that's been going on, mismanagement of the forest, federal forests and so forth. I mean, with tank traps, roadlessness, and all this kind of nonsense,
Adrian, you were born and raised over on the eastern part of Wyoming, over in the Wheatland area, weren't you?
Oh, no, he actually east of Cheyenne, almost in Colorado, little town of Carpenter, about the size of Murphy.
It doesn't make any difference where over there, but I know that it was in ranch and farm country. And you knew growing up, the affection that your parents and your grandparents and your neighbors had for their lifestyle and also the livestock. The livestock had to be cared for because that was their bread and butter. How would you feel if you all of a sudden had a phone call and your son called you, like J.C. Sidaway called his dad Jeff and said, we have 175 dead sheep that were ran off a mountain by the wolves and only one was eaten. 175 dead sheep that helped contribute to the economy of the state of Idaho are no longer there because of a killer carnivore predator.
Well, yeah, and the whole bottom line is, of course, they were never native to begin with. This is all it's really a conspiracy against the American system of government to destroy our economy, run us in the ground, and now we have a president that's aiding, abetting all of that cause, and all the power goes to the UN. We've got to get out of the UN, folks, and the sooner the better. Cut off the funding, whatever we need to do, but it's this Agenda 21 comes right from the United Nations down through the EPA and other federal bureau, like the Forest Service and BLM and so forth, and they've got this deal that all endangered species, look at the sage grouse. If they make a decision on that, look at how that's going to impact this immediate area here.
I agree. I agree. I got another guest that's coming on, but I just absolutely, I'm so appalled as to 175 dead animals that were contributing to the economy and helping others and the community, and to think that we have brought these killers back into mass numbers. It's appalling to me. Adrian, I got to run. Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have Sue McKeon on the phone with us, and Sue, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Thank you. How are you?
Well, there's a lot of things that are upsetting to me on this program and that I voice my opinion on. And one of the things that I have been very, very vocal about, excuse me for choking in your ear, is Pastor Abedini, Saeed Abedini, being locked up in a filthy, bug-infested prison in Iran, and nobody seems to care. Oh, we get lip service from some people. We might have even had a 10-word sentence from Secretary of State John Kerry, but nothing from Obama. And now a court in Tehran has rejected the appeal for this United States pastor, Saeed Abedini, to be released. I want your thoughts on this because it makes me furious.
Yes, it's very upsetting. That is definitely true. And yes, his appeal was turned down. It was done by two judges is who the appeal went before, and they did turn it down. And now it looks like it's going to be that 8-year sentence for him. The only other option is to take it to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini, and it looks like it's going to be up to him now.
Sue, I can't even imagine, and you've been very close to the family, you've been very close to this situation, you've been very close to Saeed's wife, Nagma, and if I said the name wrong, I apologize. I've had her on my program, we talked to her along with the lawyer, etc. She must be just absolutely in despair.
Yes, she is devastated. I Facebooked with her yesterday and told her I was coming on your show and wanted to know if there was anything that she wanted me to point out, and she did give me a couple of things that she asked me to mention. And yes, she has 2 small children, and she's devastated. And she mentioned to me that she is absolutely... It's unexplainable to her why this president has not said a word. He is eerily, her words, eerily silent.
Let me interrupt you right there. Let me interrupt you right there, if I can, Sue, just for a minute. I need to interrupt you. And I apologize for my rudeness, but you're bringing up an excellent point here that I think we should both elaborate on. Here we have a president that jumped into the Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin trial long before the case had been settled, long before the jury had made their decision, and this president made a very, very disruptive statement and said if Trayvon had been his son, etc., he would have looked like me and all this kind of stuff. And he weighed in on that case before the jury had taken it into deliberation. And yet this same president will not say or do anything about an American that is in an Iranian prison and basically held captive against his will and had done nothing wrong. What is the matter with our political machine that they can't help Americans that are locked up for no ill doing whatsoever?
Zeb, I do not know. I don't understand why he isn't stepping up. He is the most powerful man in the United States. He, I think, could go and make a statement to the Ayatollah, and possibly it would help. But he remains silent, and I don't know why.
Okay, now, why has there been enough information given to Obama? Has there been enough information provided through the State Department, through John Kerry's office, which might be laughable in itself, to go to the desk in the Oval Office and inform Obama of what's going on? Surely he can't plead stupidity that he doesn't know that this man, Saeed Abedini, is captive over there.
Yes, he knows. He knows as much as anyone else does in the United States government, if not more. But he chooses to remain silent. And why? I don't believe the American people know. I know Nagme doesn't.
So what happens now? I mean, this man, Saeed Abedini, doing nothing more than trying to establish a orphanage, and he's arrested. He's thrown in absolutely the worst confines over in Iran, filthy and devastating to his health. He's been beaten and everything else. What happens now? Does this family, Naghmeh and the rest of the kids, do they just have to sit back and pray to the good Lord that he can weather the storm for 8 years?
Well, definitely there's a lot of praying going on. However, the ACLJ, the American Center for Law and Justice, is going to move forward and continue to try to get another appeal out. However, this appeal is pretty definitive of the fact that he is going to be in there for the next 8 years unless the Ayatollah will pardon him. And yes, Saeed does face more beatings, possibly more cruelty to him in that prison, and it's a travesty that this president won't step up to the plate and do something.
I'm still having an awful lot of time and trouble worrying about this pastor, Abedini, and the why that this administration would not say something or do something. Here we have all these scandals. We have the IRS scandal, we have the First Amendment scandal, we have devastating Benghazi scandal, and this president goes off on the golf course. Here we have Pastor Abedini sentenced to 8 years in a prison that's absolutely appalling in Iran, and the president goes off to the golf course. His numbers are going down through the toilet. He's down into the 30s as far as his likability factor to the American public. I don't understand why he doesn't do something to try to restore some faith in not only his administration but also his legacy, but he does nothing.
I know. I don't understand it either, Zev. Pressure needs to be put on Obama to contact Iran and get something done for Saeed, because he does face daily threats and abuse because he refuses to deny his Christian faith. If this country, our president, or this president, doesn't step up and do something about it, I am very concerned what's going to happen to Saeed. It's just beyond my comprehension why Obama is so silent on his imprisonment.
Sue, I kind of relate to this story about the 3 hikers that didn't know, quote unquote, that they had stepped over the boundary lines into Iran. And they were arrested. And our government made, and our news media made, many appeals to get them released, and was acting as a kind of a mouthpiece to get them released, and said a lot of stories were covered, newspaper stories, etc. I don't see this happening for Pastor Abedini. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Sadly, you're correct. And from the media on Saeed's plight is not understandable to me, and everything is being done by Naghmeh's attorneys, the ACLJ, Jordan Sekulow, all of those people that are helping, they're contacting the president, but he remains silent. And I don't get it either, Zeb. I just don't know what to say on that, because it's crucial that something be done now for Saeed to save his life.
Is there a way that somehow we could get a plant in a press conference, whether it's someone with Fox News, whether it's someone with ABC, whether it's someone with Associated Press, I don't care. Is there a way that you can get a plant to go ahead in a press conference with the president and stick that question right in his face?
I doubt it. I would think you'd have to have certain credentials to get into the press like that. However, I've written, as you know, Fox and emailed them, tried to call them to try to get somebody to step up and say something, and I can't get through to them.
I'm really appalled that all of a sudden human life, especially in the form of American citizens, does not matter anymore. 4 Americans died in Benghazi, and for what purpose and why? No questions have been answered. Now here we have a pastor, a Christian pastor over in Iran that's being sentenced to an 8-year prison sentence, probably will not get out of there alive, and I hesitate to say that, but Sue, you know as well as I do, with the death, the disease, the beating and everything else, might not make it out alive, and our government does nothing. This isn't the America that I remember growing up.
Yes, you're right, and he is a U.S. citizen, and yes, the beatings are going to probably continue. He's already very ill, still bleeding internally, passing out from the pain. It worries me that the attitude of Hillary, for example, when she said, what difference does it make now on the situation with the 4 people that were killed over there in Libya, is that the attitude that they're taking with Saeed? Mm-hmm. He's a U.S. citizen. He's an American. Somebody needs to go into Obama and say something to him strongly. I believe if Obama would step up and do something about it, we could get Saeed out.
I agree. We have a caller with a question, Sue. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please.
Yes, well, part of the problem is that he is Christian, and Obama is sympathetic to the Muslims if he isn't a closet Muslim. Right now in Egypt, they are burning Christian churches of all shapes, sizes, any kind of faith you can imagine to the ground, and nothing is being done. Nobody cares. Because he is a Christian is the reason why nothing, I really believe, is the reason why he couldn't care less. And human life in America is losing its value, as you can see, by the killings and everything else going on. So even if, I'll tell you, the Blaze, Glenn Beck's network, has a correspondent, a White House correspondent, but do you think that Mr. Obama would ever point at that correspondent and actually ask him to, let him ask him a question, and I'll hang up.
Well, and Sue, I'd like you to respond to that, but again, I'd like to somehow finagle some news reporter that had the backbone and the spine, which they're hard to find, I know, that would stand up, look the president right in the eye and say, President Obama, why are you not saying or doing anything in your administration to release American pastor Saeed Abedini? And just stop right there and let Obama squirm.
Yes, that would be so amazing if somebody would do that to this president. But I haven't seen it happen yet. And the gentleman that just called, he's correct. It is because Saeed is a Christian and he will not denounce his Christian faith. And if he did that, he possibly would get out, but he refuses to do it.
Let me ask you this, Sue. What about Simpson? What about Crapo, Risch? What about Labrador? Are they doing enough? Are they doing anything, or just giving you lip service?
I don't know about lip service, but I personally, this is my opinion, I don't believe they're doing enough. That's my opinion.
Okay, what can I do then to hold their feet to the fire on this program with them on the air and really nail them to get some answers that might not be comfortable for them?
That would be amazingly wonderful, Zeb, if you could do it. You have a wonderful way about you that you can do that. You are able to do that. I'm on your program.
I am going to make, starting tomorrow morning when I get in my office, I'm going to start making overtures to the various offices and call Crapo and Risch and the rest of them, and I'm going to just simply say, that is going to be our topic for discussion. I want answers, and I'm going to see who is going to bow out of that conversation, and I will let the public know.
That would be wonderful. And may I say one thing, Seb? About what's going to happen on September 26th in Boise at the State Capitol building. There's going to be a prayer vigil, and Nagme asked me to tell you about that, and that if anybody wants to go, it would be wonderful. And also, if you go to saeed.org/prayer vigil, I believe it is, they're going to be all over the United States, these prayer vigils for Saeed.
Absolutely.
The one in Boise, I hope to go to.
Absolutely. Sue, I know you and others have done so much work and doing your very best as Christian folks trying to aid and abet the release of Pastor Saeed Abedini, and I know you're frustrated. I know you're hurt by what's happened, but we must keep the faith. We got to keep positive thinking and turn it over to the good Lord, and the Lord can solve this and will solve it in time. But we also can't sit back and just wait. We've got to hold the feet to the fire of our president and our leadership, whether it's our congressmen and our senators, and believe me, I don't care if I offend them or ruffle their feathers. They need to give you answers.
Yes, everyone, if they would write to President Obama, your senator, your congressman, but I would write to Obama, just flood him with letters, emails, whatever it takes, to let him know that he knows, believe me, he knows that the American people want Pastor Saeed released.
I agree. We have a quick call. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, real quickly. How come with all the civil rights people gather together on the steps of the state houses and up in the Capitol, why can't we get a bunch of people to do that and hold a sign up there to the president's nose on this for the pastor?
That's a great idea. Go ahead, Sue, comment on that, please. Thank you, caller.
I'm sorry, it was kind of muffled. I didn't hear.
She said, they're always having these million Muslim marches, and they're having other marches for the blacks. Why can't we have a huge march back in Washington with signs absolutely in the face of Obama, release this pastor now?
That is a great idea. I wish somebody could do that. I certainly can't. But that is a wonderful idea. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. They should.
Well, Sue, please know, like I've said before, that anything we can do here, we will. It sounds to me like Nagme, Saeed's wife, is working with some very good people like the Sekulow family and the American Center for Law and Justice. But maybe there's got to be another door. Maybe there's got to be another way. Maybe there's another stone that has to be turned. I don't know, but please keep us informed as to what's going on.
Yes, I will, Zeb, I promise.
Thank you so much for being on our program this morning.
Thank you for having me, Zeb.
Thank you. God bless. You know, this is a story that I'm just sickened about. I don't think this would have happened 25 years ago. Maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm wrong. But I think, let's use Ronald Reagan as an example. If this would have happened during Reagan's term, I can just imagine, and I'm giving kind of a supposition here, as to what the conversation might have been on the red phone. Hello, Ayatollah. Ronnie Reagan here, President of the United States. I understand that you have American pastor Saeed Abedini in one of the worst prisons in the world that absolutely is in your country. Is that correct? And the Ayatollah says, yes. Well, I just want to let you know, look at your watch. It's about 9 minutes to 10, and if you don't have them out of there by 3, we're going to blow the living hell out of you. Why not use force? Why not scare these people back to the Stone Age where they belong? But to leave an American citizen that had done nothing wrong than try to establish an orphanage in a prison, one of the worst prisons in the world, and our illustrious president doesn't even say anything about it, never makes a comment about it, I find that disgusting. Your calls. 436-2244-1-866-927-4587. And don't anybody waste your time in a phone call giving me a sob story about, well, there's all kinds of red tape and all this, and it's really not the president's duty. He's got other people that handle that. Don't go there. You're making excuses for a lousy, leader-less society. Don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens. life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all there at a company that's locally owned by Dean Cameron and Todd Siemens. They take care of you. Very accessible and devoted to serving you. Call them today, 436-4424. 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Holy cow, caller, stand by. I forgot the weather forecast. I got to get that in or I'm going to get fired. My goodness, my wife's going to get mad at me. Don't forget the weather this hour brought to you by Reg Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls with Ryan Horsley and the crew at 733-3546. Reg Trading Post in Twin Falls since 1936. All your guns, all your ammo, all your other basic needs, accessories, knives, etc. Oh my, here's the weather with MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Guess what? Cooler weather and a chance of a thunderstorm. How about that for today? 86 for the high, 64 for the overnight low. Looking for scattered showers today. More of the same for tomorrow, but not that much rain, 87 for the high. Then we start to warm back up on Thursday and Friday with temperatures in the low 90s. So, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. Don't forget on August 30th and 31st, the Smith & Wesson truck will be at Red's Trading Post, and you get some great deals on firearms. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, how you doing?
I'm mad.
Well, you have a reason to be mad. I don't mean to take away from what you've been talking about, but I think it needs to be mentioned. I think me and you and your wife and everybody got to see a patriotic presentation in Tremont the other night that was just unreal. I think you'd agree with me, wouldn't you?
I have absolutely no embarrassment in saying that of all the rodeos and events that I have been to, and I've been to all the big ones in the United States. I've announced at the Olympics in 1996 in Atlanta, Georgia. I've done the national finals 6 times. I've done major events in Spain and other places. I have never been moved to tears and prouder to be an American citizen than I was on Saturday evening.
I would agree with you. You know, when those veterans brought that flag out and done what they done, it was, I don't think there was a dry eye in the whole audience, you know. I mean, it was a good thing, I thought.
I don't think that there's a rodeo or a event around this area that could have copied it or tried to do it any better than it was done right there. It was absolutely to perfection.
Exactly. I agree with you. So,
no, I'm glad.
Anyway, I thought that needed to be mentioned on your show.
I'm glad you brought it up because I personally was very proud to be a part of it.
Exactly. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It got me bubbled up already. I was very proud to be a part of that Patriots night at the Golden Spike Rodeo this last Saturday evening. And you had to, in as many cases, you had to be there to understand and appreciate what happened. But we had no rehearsal. There was no rehearsal. Everything went absolutely perfect. It was God's will. But when they had 25 servicemen, some in their mid to latter 80s, marching out into that arena, helping carry a 40 by 40 foot flag and unfurling the American flag. It was just so beautiful, and it created so much pride that we live in the greatest country in the world. The greatest country in the world. And the only thing that takes away from that greatness is people and ideology. People and ideology. And I'm going to be very blunt. I don't see or hear the patriotism that I did 5 years, 10 years ago. I saw it Saturday night, and it was heartwarming, and it made my eyes bubble up and my voice waver. But it falls right into what we were talking about just a minute ago. Where is the patriotism in leaving an American citizen to rot in a prison cell? When one call one aimed threat from our president to another country and leadership of that country could get his release and bring him home to his family. But this president says nothing. 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 That's shameful, and it's cowardice. I've said so many times on this program, I can't respect this administration. I refuse to respect this man. Good morning, caller, quickly. I only have 1 minute left.
Yes, Seb, I'm going to make a speech.
We'll make it short.
This country's been at war with the Christian church since Clinton was in office. They do everything they can to hurt our chaplaincy in the service and anything they can to work against the Christian religion. And I think that this pastor is a Christian, and they're fighting us. And it's our own administration that's doing it, and our own Congress and our own House. I'm sorry to say this, but I wish they'd turn around and look at who's doing the damage to the country.
Amen.
It's not the Christians for sure.
Amen.
We're not killing people.
Jerry, I got to run to the news. I always appreciate your comments, and I know that was heartfelt. Thank you, my dear friend. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless.
He has. Thank you. We'll be back in 6 minutes. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Howdy, I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3, as we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Contact Kelly and the crew, 734-6969. Hey, real quick, don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, they've got delicious luncheon specials every Monday through Friday for just $5.95. And listen to this, they've got a senior citizen dinner special Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m., only $5.95. What's on the menu for today? Sweet and sour meatballs over steamed rice with super salad, just $5.95 at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Boy, that sounds good. My goodness, it's time now for Dr. History, brought to you by the new CSI Sage Truck Driving School in Burley, 878-5802. With Lucky Born, you can become a professional truck driver, and you can deliver maple bars with bacon on them. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
I'm starved to death.
Well, you got to wait another year for those maple bars.
Want to bet? That is so doggone good, and I can't imagine how you got me so spoiled on those things.
I know. I started something.
Yeah, you did. You know what you need to do? You know what you need to do is start serving those at your chiropractic business.
Yeah, I could have my secretary start cooking.
Well,
bacon.
here's the thing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that would say about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, oh, I feel an ache. I better go over and see Dr. Turner.
That's right. Okay, I'll talk it over with my secretary.
You know, see, I get 25% of the gross sales.
Okay.
It was my idea.
Okay.
All right. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, you said that you wanted to talk about Massacre Rocks this week.
I did say that because every time I go through there, seriously, I know you're going to laugh at this, but every time I go through there, I get an eerie feeling that somebody's up on top of one of those rocks with a bow and arrow, and it's aimed at my pick-em-up truck.
Yeah, well, that was that was not just you, but the immigrants coming through there, they had that same thought.
Uh-oh.
So, anyway, along that south bank of the river, they actually called it Massacre Rocks. They also called it Gate of Death. They called it Devil's Gate because it was a narrow passage through the rocks. Now, in the mid-1800s, the Raft River Valley was full of pioneers as they came through on their way to Oregon and California. And by about 1862, the Oregon Trail and California trails coming through, there was a lot of pioneers. There were a lot of wagon companies, and a lot of times they were only a few miles apart from each other. And just before they got into Raft River, the pioneers came through a valley where all this volcanic rock, and as you've been there, you know, there's a lot of volcanic rock in that narrow area right in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Snake River bordered that section of the trail on the north side, and you know, it was a nice place, actually, in some respects, because it had nice water, had a lot of fish, and a lot of times the pioneers would stop there to just take it easy. And Indian attacks were really not the rule. I mean, really, there were a lot of pioneers that died from disease or accident. But right there in August of 1862, this is what they refer to as Horror Week of 1862.
Oh, man.
And this was one of the worst for Indian attacks in southern Idaho.
I've got a question for you before you get rolling.
Okay.
How much of the area did they take out when they put the interstate system in there? Or are the rocks and where actually the attack took place, are they still there?
You know, that's a really good question, and I really don't know what all they had to take out right along that one little area where it's pretty narrow. But I'm sure they had to take out some rock there.
Okay. All right. Excuse my interruption.
Okay. Like I say, it was 1862, and there was about a week there, and there was a series of massacres that occurred over about 100 miles of the trail. So it wasn't just right there at Massacre Rocks. So, you know, the gold rush of 1849, that started this migration, and it was just got more and more of these immigrants. Well, you know, Pardon?
I didn't say a word. I'm sitting here so quiet. I'm amazed myself. I was just absolutely in stunned silence.
All right, sorry. Okay, well, anyway, so you can imagine watching these caravans of wagons rumbling over the Indians' old trails. I mean, they became a little restless, and during the early 60s, they started kind of a campaign of pillage and murder that kept the cavalry pretty much on the move. But it was this incredible second week in August in 1862 that is pretty much what we're talking about when we refer to the Massacre Rocks. Now, one of these skirmishes, an Indian attack on an immigrant train moving west over the Old Oregon Trail, and this gave the name Massacre Rocks to this area near American Falls. And I guess for any of our listeners that are out there that aren't from this area, just look up American Falls, and just west of there you'll find, or look it up on the internet. But it was reported that south of Massacre Rocks on August 3rd, a wagon train of 40 people had been ambushed. And it was later referred to as the Methodist train because of the number of religious people of that faith among its members.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's thought that 15 women and children had been carried off by the Indians, and the rest of the party were killed except one man who miraculously escaped. And this was August 3rd. Now, 3 days later, August 6th, the Indians struck again near the same place. And this time it was a group of packers from the Willamette Valley. Now, one was killed, the others managed to escape, but they didn't, with little else. They had to leave all their gear. Okay, 3 days later, August 9th, a train from Iowa with many wagons, that we really don't know how many, they were ambushed by the Indians at the mouth of the City of Rocks. So, you know, when we refer to this, we're really referring to about a 100-mile stretch here.
Yeah.
Not just over there by Massacre Rocks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, now, due to their number and firepower, this caravan or wagon train, they corralled their wagons, and they managed to repulse the first attack that hit them around noon. Well, the Indians, after failing on this first trip, they contented themselves on a second try in rounding up a herd of about 50 cattle that had been left outside the barricade. Well, after a day and night of attacks, the Indians retired to a place to kind of have a council of war. Well, the whites reversed the tables, and with a large, pretty good bunch of men, they left their barricade, they surprised the Indians at their council, and they managed to drive them away because they caught them totally unaware, and so the Indians jumped on their horses and took off. Now, in this one, very few of the immigrants were killed, but they did lose a bunch of their stock. And really, that's what the Indians wanted, was they wanted money, they wanted the animals, the horses, the cows, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, now the day before this, on August 8th, there were two Indian attacks that happened almost at the same time in two different areas. There was a group called the Smith Train, and it was over by the City of Rocks, and the Indians attacked them without warning, and you know, they were hiding behind the rocks, and there were 11 wagons along with 16 horses were all taken, and the Indians completely outnumbered these people, and The report here is a little foggy, but one newspaper account says that there were some survivors, but doesn't say how they escaped or what happened, but most of them were pretty much wiped out.
Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me as you relate what's happening here in this area. Now, 100 miles, but still kind of a confined area. You would have thought that somebody would have alerted the other wagon trains coming up the trail that, hey, we got a problem up here.
Right. And as I go along here, you'll kind of see the lack of communication that contributed to this whole massacre.
Well, while we're talking about communication, let me interrupt our communication for this good word.
Good spot.
Oh, perfectly done. Would you like to start earning $30,000 to $40,000 a year in as little as 4 or 5 weeks? Well, then call Lucky Bourne at CSI's New Sage Truck Driving School right now in Burley at 878-5802. You will get one-on-one, over-the-road training and all the necessary endorsements, and when you've earned your CDL, their team will even help you get your first truck driving job. Yes, sir. New classes begin every week. All you have to do is call Lucky Bourne right now at CSI's new truck driving school in Burley, 878-5802. And now, back to Massacre Rocks.
All right. The next incident that happened was approximately, or about the same time, but this was east of Fort Hall. And this kind of reveals how self-preservation is kind of a basic thing that we have in our nature. But this was called the Yates train. They had 15 wagons, 40 men, and a number of women. But this caravan was assaulted kind of in a ravine in a bunch of poplar trees. And the wagons, unfortunately, were far apart when the Indians attacked. And the 10 front wagons formed a corral, and they kind of left out the 5 behind them. Well, 3 of these wagons that were left behind managed to break through and join the main group, but the remaining 2 were left to their own fate, and when the entire band of Indians bore down on the 2 wagons, the doomed immigrants pretty well were done, met their death. So now, 3 men attempted to come to their rescue, but the Indians were just too thick. They couldn't do anything. So the records show that the next day the main group did manage to fight its way out with a run to safety. The reports show that 7 were killed and 2 were wounded. Now, near Massacre Rocks, this is right in where we're talking about again. The Indians struck again on August 9th. The original train that was attacked was known as the George Adams Party. Mm-hmm. Now, before it was over, it was joined by several other wagon trains arriving on the scene while the battle was going on.
Holy smokes.
That's what I said about the communication.
Yeah.
Well, here you got a wagon train being attacked. Well, here comes another wagon train behind them because there was a huge amount of traffic that went over the Oregon Trail. There's a guy that gives his own personal account of this, and he kind of gives a graphic description of how the wagon train was hit while about 10 miles this side of American Falls. So, again, we're talking about the Massacre Rocks area. Now, when the attack occurred, the wagons were, again, you wouldn't think they would do this, but they were separated. And it was difficult for the wagon master, this Adams guy, to form a corral. So, seeing that they were greatly outnumbered by the Indians, the immigrants did kind of a strange thing, which you wouldn't think they would do. Somehow they managed to leave their wagons and escape to what they hoped would be safety. Well, when they did this, 3 men and 1 woman was killed and a number other wounded. And but by that evening, during the battle, several other wagons came upon the scene. So it's almost like a traffic jam. Now, the report states that during the remainder of the night, and in the morning of August 10th, the wagons came into such an extent that pretty soon they had a corral of 86 wagons.
Now that is a bunch of people.
That is a bunch. And in order to keep stay off the Indians from the repeated attacks, there was at least 300 well-armed Indians.
Well, no, wait a minute. I was going to say, 300 Indians. I mean, was there ever an estimated count of all the attackers? Is it 300? Was it 500? Is it 1,000? Is it like Hollywood, or what's going on here?
Well, like I say, they're saying there was about 300 Indians. Uh-huh. Now, if there were other groups, over by the City of Rocks, there was another group, I don't know.
Now, did they attack like they did in the movies where they, and they're running on horseback and they're shooting and everything, or was it ground warfare? Tell us about that. What was it like?
You know what? I don't know. I'm just going to have to make a guess here that they had to be on horseback, but there had to be Indians hiding behind rocks.
Yeah.
As the wagons came close, so they had to be the cavalry and the and the infantry among the Indians.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the battle continued, and during this strange drama, more wagon trains kept coming.
Holy smokes! They could have sold tickets.
And, they'd stop at the same spot, and they'd be circled around by the Indians too. And according to the eyewitnesses, they now had a company of about 112 wagons.
So they kept like bumper cars. They kept coming into the same area. Yeah. I can imagine these Indians are getting together maybe after they take a little rest break, and they're going, "White man, dumb."
But on the other hand, because one wagon train was stuck being attacked, the next one comes upon them, they're getting attacked, and then the next one, and the next one, and pretty soon 112 wagons.
I mean, the Indians are sitting there going, "White man smorgasbord."
That's right. Yeah, which one should we take now?
Holy smokes.
And so, but the good thing is the wagon trains joined forces in defense, but the battle continued for 3 days, and but because the increasing number of white people arriving, on the third day, the Indians decided that was enough, or they also think maybe one of their head chiefs may have gotten killed. Whatever the reason, they finally withdrew. And, they estimates of how much was lost, they indicate there could have been as much as $30,000 worth of cattle, horses, mules, and even, this was struck me odd, they actually took cash. They took money. A lot of these pioneers heading that way had money that they were taking west with them.
Well, yeah, they took it up to the casino at Fort Hall.
Yeah, but one guy, they got $6,000 from him. Another guy, $4,000. In fact, this Captain Adams, who was the head of one of the wagon trains, they got $4,000 from him. And unfortunately for him, he also lost one of his sons and one of his daughters, all of his teams, plus this $4,000. So this Adams train, they really took a hit on this. But, again, as I mentioned, they were coming right through an area where the Indians had been camping and living for hundreds of years. And they say that over there you can find arrowhead chippings and bone fragments of campfires, that area was used for hundreds of years, which, with the river right there, with fish, with, kind of a nice area.
I'm still trying to figure out, and I'm having a hard time understanding this, as to how all these different wagon trains could come up onto an existing battle and just kind of park themselves right in the middle of it without A, hearing it, B, seeing it well in advance, or C, trying to avoid it.
That kind of has been a little bit a mystery to me, too. I don't know. That's kind of a strange thing. Like I say, ever since I've read this story, but there's been cases where wagon trains has been as many as one wagon, 2 wagons, 5 wagons.
Yeah, but you said there was like 118 or so in one of these.
Yeah, and like I say, they come up. They might start out with 15 wagons in the morning, and by the afternoon, you've got 10 wagons a half a mile ahead, 5 wagons behind. So it's it's perfect for the Indians to attack and take the 5 wagons or the 10. But the thing that I've got a big map in front of me right now. I'm just looking at all the trails. I think one misconception people have is that there was pretty much one trail called the Oregon Trail and the California Trail. But as I'm looking at this map, there's dozens and dozens of trails. In fact, from Fort Hall, there's what they call the Goodale Cutoff, and it goes north up towards the, kind of over through the Fairfield area and on over to Boise.
Yep.
Then there's another trail that travels on the north side of the Snake River, right next to the river. So possibly some of the people on the north side of the river could have watched what was happening on the south side of the river.
You know, and I would say this, and I'm not the expert you are, but I would say that the reason there were so many different and diversified trails was for forage for the animals.
Right, and again, a lot of people conceive this as being one trail, the Oregon Trail, but really, in places, it was spread out a mile wide.
Oh, yeah.
For just what you said, for the animals' feed and water, things like that.
Yep.
But a huge amount of trails that, in fact, kind of in southwest Wyoming, just north of Fort Bridger, there's a bunch of trails that cut off right in through there, too.
Yeah. So anyway, here you are at American Falls, and you're being attacked by all these Indians. By the way, is this the Shoshone Indians?
You know, it doesn't say, but I'm going to assume it had to be.
Yeah. And so here you are in another wagon train, and you can't hear the guns? I mean, come on. There's something wrong here.
Right. And I guess the question is, at that point, would you circle up your wagons and form a defense, or are you just going to keep going on into where the...
There you go. Where's their scouts that they paid all that good money to? Where's Robert Horton when you need him?
That's a good question. I think some of those scouts maybe said, this isn't in my job description.
You know, here's something interesting, Doc. How come, and you probably have the answer to this, why and how come Hollywood hasn't made a movie about this? This is really an interesting part of the Old West.
Well, it really is, and it's not just fiction. I mean, this actually happened.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it would make a great movie. The thing that always bothers me about movies is how they romanticize them, and, you know, they just... I'm disappointed in a lot of the movies that they just don't have them as accurate as they should be.
Yeah, but of course we lost John Wayne, and we've lost Ben Johnson, Corporal Tyree, and I guess you can't make a movie out of something when we can't cast those guys.
We got to have John Wayne back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's such an interesting story. Well, how long did these attacks last before all of a sudden the Indians said, let's go back to the teepee?
Well, it just went about a week.
And then they gave up altogether?
Oh, no. There continued to be attacks here and there. Trying to think of when that Alamo Creek one occurred. I'd have to look that one up.
I was going to say 1864, but I could be wrong.
I might have it here somewhere.
Okay. He's looking and stammering at the same time.
Well, okay, Chief Buffalo Horn, he was one of the guys that went on the rampage. That was 1867.
Oh, okay.
You know, that was 4 years later.
Yeah.
Let's see. Josiah Miller, he came in 1877 right in this area and helped form Burley, Idaho.
Holy cow, good old Josiah. Had lunch with his sister the other day with my wife. And
I was going to say you dated his sister.
No comment. She was the one that wore the arrow in her back. Anyhow, this is really, we ought to think about making our own movie. Let's get some funding, and I know some really good videographers, and we'll make our own doggone movie.
Boy, you know, that would be great, because then we could have it historically accurate. And
did you say historically or hysterically?
Well, there could have been a little of that, too.
I see. I know some guys that could play the Indians that it would be hysterical, I'll tell you that.
Because they'd be falling off their horses.
Anyway, hey, listen, great job on that. That was interesting, and there's a lot of questions as to why.
Yeah. You know, I just remember as a young kid, when we'd drive through there, my dad always would say, now there's a massacre that occurred here, and everybody was killed except one guy swam across the river.
Yeah.
And that was my dad's take on that. And so every time I drove through there, I always looked at the river and thought, some guy swam across there.
It was Johnny Weissmuller, and he went on to be a big actor in Hollywood playing Tarzan.
So I don't know how Dad heard that, but anyway, it sounded good.
You did a good job. That was interesting this morning, but you got to tell me why all the wagon trains and Ward Bond leading the wagon train stumbled in and just fell into the battle when they certainly could have seen it and heard it before.
Yeah, okay. That, like I say, I don't understand that. Why would you keep going when you see a bunch of Indians going around a wagon train that's corralled up? and yet you keep heading your wagon train right into the middle of it.
Amen.
Unless you're trying to get in there to try to help them, but again, you've got a wagon train that's corralled. Do you double park yours around them?
Double park. Now there you go into the modern vernacular, and they all got a ticket from Chief whatever. Anyway, I've got to run, but thanks for listening to Dr. History, brought to you by the new CSI Sage Truck Driving School in Burley with Lucky Bourne 878-5802. Tune in again next week for more of Dr. History. See you, buddy.
You have a good day, Zeb.
All right, you too.
Bye.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. And if you're into hunting and fishing and archery and fishing and camping and boating and ATVing and everything else outdoors, you need to go to the outdoor store. And that, of course, is Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. My buddy Reese Widmeyer, the manager. Sportsman's Warehouse carries only the top quality products for the serious outdoor enthusiast. You stop into the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls. Oh, by the way, this week, big Twin Falls County Fair and, of course, Magic Valley Stampede. It's going to be ripping good. And, of course, don't forget September 1st, and that, of course, is this coming Sunday, the great big concert, the Craig Morgan concert, over at the Twin Falls County Fairgrounds. And he's got some ripping good tunes. You're going to love it. Tickets are on sale right now. Don't forget the Mighty Thomas Carnival and concerts like I just told you about with Craig Morgan, Magic Valley Stampede, All-Star Monster Truck Tour. Woo! All of this and much, much more at your Twin Falls County Fair over in Filer. Well, we say good morning to Michael Greenwell, and he is the president of the congregation at Zion Lutheran Church in Burley. And good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good. Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad. I understand that you've got something starting up on September 4th that's called the Financial Peace University class. What in the world does that mean?
Absolutely. It's a wonderful program. Before I begin, I just want to apologize. If I sound a bit raspy, I'm a little under the weather today, so just bear with me.
All right.
But financial peace is nothing more than a way of looking at your money through a biblical sense, from passages from the Bible. A famous quote from the Bible that we hear all the time, money is the root of all evil. And I'm sure you and all your listeners have probably heard that quote 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the actual passage. It's Timothy 6:10, and it's for the love of money,
right,
placed before the love of God is the root of all kinds of evil.
Absolutely.
So money is an inanimate object, yet we let that inanimate object control our lives to a degree that we wouldn't let some other man control our lives. So the Financial Peace University is just a way of looking at your finances in a biblical sense, trying to guide you into a better direction. My wife and I took this course for the first time last year, and I'd never heard someone speak of money this way before. It just seemed to be, so it's like the Bible, and it's common sense, basically. But it puts it together in such a way that it'll completely, if this doesn't catch on and go nationwide, I think it should be taught in our schools right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that good of a course, and it's not just a plan or some system. There's tons of those out there. Matter of fact, the system part of it isn't really the crux of it. What really gets in deep is your behavior, how you relate to money. That's what they really focus on.
You know, when I'll jump in here a little bit, Mike, and talk about money and the saving of money and the spending of money. I think that a lot of people think that we should all be paupers, that we should all just wear rags, and we should live in a cave and burn buffalo dung. And I am absolutely convinced that God doesn't want that for any of us. He wants us to take the talent that He has given us and go out and do as much as we can for the time that we have here on His blessed earth and try to prosper and help other people. And I think managing money is just one simple thing that we can do.
Absolutely. It's our responsibility as a Christian to do it that way. You're absolutely right, Jeb. There's a saying in the class, live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later. And what they mean by that is, yeah, sure, you're going to do some sacrifices now. You're going to forgo going to McDonald's 5 times a week or whatever else. But later on in your life, when you are financially viable and you're capable, they say in the class, save lots of money, earn lots of money, and then that way later on in life you can give lots of it away.
What?
It's just the way of doing things that it's brought such a harmony to our lives that we just want to pass it on.
Well, now, let's break this down a little bit in the time that we have here this morning. Now, this class is going to start on September 4th at the Zion Lutheran Church in Burley, right?
That's correct.
And without giving too much away about the class or too much about the subject matter, how is it going to be broken down so that people can take part in it? Go ahead and explain that.
Well, it's 9 classes every Wednesday night, starting at 7 p.m. September 1st when it starts, of course. The classes go through different lessons related to savings, relating to your money, cash flow planning, how to get out of debt, things of that nature. But when it comes down to it, the class is about an hour and a half long. And by all means, we're offering this class as a free service to the community. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for donations. All we ask is anyone who wants to attend the class, they buy their own materials. Mm-hmm. The thing of that is if they want to come to the first class without buying any materials for nothing, by all means, show up. Just give me a call in advance. Show up at the class. Sit to the first class, and if you want to come back after that, then hey, we'll bring you in. Like I said, it goes for 9 weeks. Oh, on the first night as well, we are having a community dinner that night. So if somebody wants to show up early and have a little bit of lasagna and salad, please do so.
Okay.
But like I said, it goes 9 weeks. If you do decide to get the materials, you get this kit. It's a workbook. It's 10 CDs with all the lessons in it, and an envelope system that he uses to help people manage their money. And it's $90 per family is how much the kit costs. But again, like I said, show up. You don't have to get the kit. Show up. See if you like the class first. Then if you want to later, you can do that.
Mike, what happened to you personally? I mean, you and your wife. When you heard about this concept of Financial Peace University class, what were your initial thoughts until you attended the first meeting?
I've been looking at my finances. I come from a background where money is not really all that important. We were never really poor and we were never really rich. It was just something that it was never a central part of our lives. So in looking at it that way, and I still don't look at it that way, but in looking at it that way, we were always kind of hand to mouth. We had occasionally a little bit extra money here and there, got to do a few nice things, and we lived our lives, and it was just, it was okay. But I got to the point where there were certain things coming up on the horizon where, wow, I'm not prepared for this. I don't know, one of those is I've got 3 kids in college right now. Mm-hmm. So, I timed that one just right. And just the expense of that and the things that were coming up on the horizon scared me a little bit because I was not prepared. And I've looked at numerous systems in the past, and my wife and I have always, been somewhat frugal, but we gotten to the point where enough was enough. We were just sick of the hand to mouth, and we decided, well, let's just start looking out there. I'm a researcher not by trade, but I retired from the military, so know how to research stuff. I started getting out there and I started looking at all these different systems and programs and everything else. And by far the most positive reviews I saw were coming from the Financial Peace class.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came down to it and we decided to go, we jumped in with both feet, and we haven't looked back since. It is... my banker the other day asked me, well, when are you going to get a credit card with us? And I told him never. He kind of looked at me a little bit screwy. He's like, well, why not? I'm like, I don't want a credit score anymore.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want somebody looking at me, not at my word, but at something else in the past. As a matter of fact, there was an article this morning. Lenders are going to start looking at your Facebook profile to see who you associate with to make determinations on if they're going to loan you money.
We're looking at a situation, Mike, in this country with a lack of any kind of confidential information anymore, to where anything and everything you can do to conceal information, I think, is beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can show, we had one individual in the class who was like, well, if you don't have a credit score, there's no way you can buy a house. And I also thought that was the case. I was like, yeah, there's no way. You can't buy a car, you can't buy a house, you can't. And the facilitator, the guy that was training us in that course, said, no, there is a way. Is it harder? Yes. But there is a way to still do it. Showed us how to do it. Showed us how to show a lender, hey, look, here you go. You know, you can give me favorable terms because here's a history. I've been paying a house payment for the last 6 years, or I've been paying my electric bill on time for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a credit history, but it's up to you to get out there and prove that credit history, not some unnamed, unknown individual sitting in New York City determining what your credit is.
Now, in the course, what would you say, Mike, that this course is appropriate for the newly marrieds or the people that are approaching retirement, or all of the above?
All the way through.
Okay.
All the way through, Zeb. We look at newlyweds all the way up to people that are in their retired ages. It's appropriate for any of them. And the class is not just for them. We also encourage, if anyone's got any teenagers, they bring them in the class with them as well. And that one, the kit cost I told you about, that doesn't just cover one person. That covers you, your spouse, and any teenage kids you have. You bring them all in.
All right, now
it's a family thing.
All right, now the church, Zion Lutheran Church, is located, tell me if I'm wrong, at 2410 Miller Avenue in Burley. Is that right?
That is correct.
And what number do they call to perhaps pre-register and let people know they're going to be at the class?
They just need to call 678-2759.
Okay.
That's my home number.
Okay.
We don't have someone at the church all the time. If I'm not home at the time, just leave me a message. I will definitely get back to you. But again, that's 678-2759.
Well, let us know how things are progressing and keep us informed, but it sounds to me like Financial Peace University is a class that all of us in this day and age, especially underneath this administration, should go to and really try to educate ourselves. Mike, I want to say thank you to you, Mike Greenwell, the president of the congregation at Zion Lutheran Church, and keep us informed.
Thank you, Zeb.
God bless. Thank you, sir. Boy, managing money. And I noticed that he said in there that month after month they started with what they learned in the class, and they saved quite easily and very soon over $7,000. So, try to attend that class and get registered. Right now, it's time for a Michael Rogers weather update. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Guess what? Cooler weather and a chance of a thunderstorm. How about that for today? 86 for the high, 64 for the overnight low. Looking for scattered showers today. More of the same for tomorrow, but not that much rain, 87 for the high. Then we start to warm back up on Thursday and Friday with temperatures in the low 90s. So, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, MichaelRogersWeather.com on Zeb at the Ranch. And we haven't had a chance to listen to her turn her microphone on and sit there and go, here she is, Gina Jameson.
I don't do that exactly. I just kind of stick my nose up on the mic, and eventually you'll notice.
No, I can see the foggy breath marks on the computer screen.
I clean them off every day.
Oh, man. What are you doing today? What's going on over at the station?
Oh, you know, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, as per the norm, prepping for a 3-day weekend, which, by the way, I wanted to let you know that you're not going to have a show on Monday.
Thank you. As if I didn't already have plans.
Exactly.
No, we are not going to be here on Labor Day.
Nope.
And as a matter of fact, I'm going to bail out the door Thursday at noon, go to Lunch Bunch.
Yes.
And by the way, that is this week, Lunch Bunch at JB's. Everybody try to be there. And then after Lunch Bunch, I'm gone. Look out, interstate. Here I go.
Yeah, I got to work, so I don't get to stay here.
All the way through the weekend.
Pretty much. We have our high school sports season kicks off on Friday. And so
already?
Friday night, already. I've got a game Friday night, and then I've got a game on Saturday afternoon. Minico's taking on... who is Park City, Utah, in Pocatello at Pulse Arena. So we'll be covering that game. So, yeah, it's another working weekend for me. So everybody else gets to enjoy the Labor Day weekend, except for those who actually have to labor.
I am not used to seeing summer fly by this fast, and the kids going back to school.
I know.
And I know my grandboys are over at the Twin Falls County Fair with their bulls and their steers and everything else.
Yeah.
And then they go back to school next Tuesday. They don't even get a day of rest. They got to go right back to school.
Well, exactly. And see, my son, he started school yesterday.
Wow.
And so then he gets to take the 3-day weekend. I think he'll be spending that with his dad. And so, but yeah, a lot of kids, they're just like boom, boom, boom. Especially if you're in, doing the 4-H and the FFA, you have no rest.
Do you remember?
Time of year.
Do you remember your first day of school, like at high school? You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I vividly remember my first day in high school at Fort Atkinson High School as a freshman.
Okay.
And when you went to high school, did you go right there in your immediate area, or did you have to bus quite a ways?
I lived right across the street from the school.
Oh, it was a long transport, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a K-12 school, so it was like, it wasn't like, ooh, I get to go to high school now. It's like, oh, well, yay.
So it was basically all the same kids that you grew up with?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, see, when I went to high school, it was like I came from, and I know you're going to laugh at this, some people will, but I went to a 8th grade country school.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, you and Abraham Lincoln, Well, it's the truth. Curtis Mill Elementary.
Yeah.
And it was a big psychological shock to get off the bus at a big high school in Fort Atkinson and walk in, and they say that they're going to have a huge assembly in the gymnasium, and all the freshmen sit over here, all the sophomores sit here, the juniors here, the seniors here, and then Superintendent Glenn Lepley will address us. Holy man, I was in shock and awe.
You were?
Well, yeah, because I came from a one-room schoolhouse.
Well, the biggest school that I ever went to, and I only went there for like about 4 months, was Sumner High School. I went and lived with my real dad for a while. And it's just outside of, it's part of the Seattle metro area.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest school that I ever went to. And I think that there was about 3,500 kids just within that high school. And so talk about going from, knowing everybody to not knowing a single soul. That, honestly, was the culture shock.
I took my lunch every day to Curtis Mill Elementary in my Roy Rogers bucket. And I sat there and ate my lunch. And then they tell me in high school, I've got only a couple of minutes to get down to the cafeteria because we have to form a line in our classes. And I'm going, where in the heck is a cafeteria? I mean, I had a real big social adjustment from being kind of a Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, and Abe Lincoln type school all the way to a high school, a big high school.
It was quite the culture shock, and it was kind of the same thing for me when I went from Elk River to going over to Sumner for a couple of months. A complete culture shock, because I went from like a class of, there was like maybe 5 of us in my, class itself when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And when I popped over to a different school, 30, you're looking at 1,200 just in the sophomore class alone. It's like, you're like, whoa. And then moved back, and I graduated actually out of Potlatch High School, and we had 29.
I was scared to go to the bathroom for fear I might miss something.
Well, either that or you're going to get lost.
I'm not kidding. And there was a lot of times I did. I remember going into Mr. Stark's janitorial service room many times when thinking that was my classroom. I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, and they're like, what are you doing here? And you're like, is this not the bathroom?
And the thing was, in high school, it was built like it was along, like the Denver airport. Yep. Instead of being convenient, it's built, from east to west and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's how my high school was, and it was on 3 different locations, and they had kind of this indoctrination ceremony as to look at your papers, find your classrooms, and you only have like 30 seconds to do it. Holy smokes.
And they expected you to know the school inside and out, and it's like they don't give you directions or like a schematic of the school. They're just like, oh, here you go.
Did you have homerooms with a teacher that was supposed to be your in-school mama, basically?
Yeah, that was called detention.
Yeah. Well, no, we had homerooms where we got together, in our homeroom, and then we all had to build floats and all that stuff for the parades and everything.
Not in Elk River and not in Potlatch. Our school was so small that it was the home school. We didn't have a homeroom.
Oh, we had a homeroom with Mrs. I can't remember. Was it Mrs. I can't remember her last name. But anyway, she was one of those, she was a blonde, and she just stood up there and smiled all the time. She didn't give you any information, she just smiled all the time.
She did. So homeroom was basically like a place for you to get caught up in your homework.
Yeah, you could go in there and get caught up on your homeroom, and then Denny Stannard and I used to sit there, and there was typewriters on some of the tables, and if you pushed down the, remember those are the typewriters where you had to hit a key and then the carriage would return? Yeah, and you could hit the buttons on our typewriters, and we sat about 10 feet apart, and we had this game going that if we hit the buttons just right, it would fly off the machine and go up in the air, and he'd catch it, and then his would come off, and I'd catch his, and we kept shooting buttons at each other.
And how did the teacher react to this?
Not well.
She didn't care.
Mr. Calmer came in on occasion and decided that we should sit at tables that didn't have typewriters.
See, growing up, and actually my brother can honestly attest to this, we spent a lot of time in detention.
Yeah.
So detention with Mr. Ireland was always really fun. Either that or sometimes we had Mr. Zamuda. And Mr. Zamuda, he was our Polish science teacher. And
Wait a minute. Did you say a Polish science teacher?
Yeah.
Remember the 70s with the jokes? I'm not going to make one now.
Well, exactly. But see, he was really good because he had heard all of those jokes, and he would continue to tell those jokes. And he would just sit there and shake his head. You kids get your work done. And honestly, we spent more time in detention than probably our regular classroom.
Mr. Lepley, I kind of run Mr. Lepley down on occasion. He was a kind of a guy that he tried to be like, some father figure that was big and tough.
Right.
And he stood exactly 5 feet 4 inches tall. And all of us were taller than him, and he had a speech impediment. And when he'd get nervous, he'd go, I'm going to call your mom and dad. I'm going to call your mom and dad. And we'd get to giggling, and we knew our life was going to be shortened when mom and dad come to pick us up, but it was doggone fun listening to him kind of shoot off at us.
Did he honestly call your mom and dad?
Oh.
Did he? Okay, see, we had Mr. Ireland. He was not only the school principal, but he was, like the detention overseer, and then he taught government and history and everything. And he actually had kind of like that father figure for the school. But he was a very large, very tall man, and he had this big booming voice, so he could actually pull that off. However, Mr. Forsey was he was the math teacher.
Yeah.
And of course everything was done on the chalkboard, and the poor soul, he was allergic to chalk.
Really?
Oh, yes. And so we spent more time in that class listening to him honk his honker than anything else. And so, yeah. But honestly, I learned, I think, more in detention than I did in regular class.
I was always one of those guys that, hung around with the jocks, the athletes and everything. And we were always looking for the weak link in the chain to do something to in the classroom, or the teacher that would come in, the substitute teacher, and they were just absolutely fair game. It was open season on substitute teachers. And the surprising thing in our high school was substitute teachers, they didn't seem to want to come back after the one day.
Well, can you blame them?
No.
See, we didn't have substitute teachers, and everybody, because, of course, living in a small town, everybody knows everybody, and everybody's pretty much related to everybody, so we really didn't have that weak link. Sometimes it would be the designated, okay, who gets to get picked on today? And we all took our turns.
Yeah.
We all took our turns. But we didn't have the opportunity of substitute teachers.
Well, I went to it was a fairly good-sized high school, big high school, and a lot of memories of the students. I never have been to a class reunion. Never.
What?
I never have.
Neither have I.
Really? And did you notice, and I got to say this real quick because I got to do a commercial, but did you notice the kids in your class that were picked as to being the echelon, the most likely to succeed, the most likely to do this, some of those are still stacking shelves at a grocery store?
Pretty much. You know what I was voted? Most talkative.
Imagine that. I got to do a commercial. Oh, my goodness. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center. 7 great locations serving you, and serving is the key word, with all the tires you need for your cars and all the tires you need for your pick-em-up trucks and your horse trailers and your SUVs, everything. And they know all the tread designs that will give you the best driving benefit for your style of driving. That's right. Stop in and check them out today. And the best in brake service, shocks and struts, front end alignments. You don't want to be going west and heading east. They'll make sure everything runs right and efficiently. And like I say, all the batteries, they've got the best in people serving you with Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, great Twist family over in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy, the old Seahawk fan, in Burley. Nice people. And serving you, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. I'm late. Got to go to the dentist. We'll see you tomorrow, 8:06, Zeb at the Ranch.